Hello and welcome to my project. It is called FPS 0. I named it that because it's my first iteration of a FPS game, and I just thought it was a cool, creative, fitting name. What you're looking at here is a bunch of volumes, which essentially help the game logic execute properly, and all of these are responsible for AI navigation as well as post-processing and light effects and all that jazz. And this here essentially is the template for our procedurally generated level. If you look closely, you can see that there is no grass here. We are going to be procedurally generating the grass using instance hierarchical static mesh components. So without further ado, let's get started. So we'll click play. I gotta depossess, hit F11, and then repossess. Now we're back. Got the main menu. This is just a picture that I took some time ago. Got my fake developer copyright on the bottom here, and I got my buttons that highlight with tooltips. And so if we click play, you can see that I have a UI for the player. In the upper right, we have a high score to beat, which is going to be an easy goal in this instance, as well as the amount of levels that we have passed thus far. As it stands right now, the first level does count as a level being passed. I would like it to start at 0, but unfortunately, there's a lot of things that I would like to get done, but I didn't have time to. So we start off, and this is the same level that we were just looking at that was completely barren. Everything that you see here is procedurally generated. The props themselves are imported. They are open source and free to use. The license says that they're allowed for personal consumption. So since this is a school project, I figured it was perfect. We have rocks, we have containers, all that jazz. And I personally created these pickups. This took quite some time. I had to implement the logic for them to not only levitate, but I also had to slightly modify the actual static mesh. If you look closely, you can see this is actually just a fuel container. I had to create the hovering component. So this is actually on an invisible stick, essentially, if you would, and I'm running a function that essentially says throughout this stick, keep applying this force so that it stays within these bounds. So if you look in the bottom right, you can see that we have our ammo. When I shoot, it actually goes down. I actually also created these projectile effects as well. So you can see they have a sparkle effect. It kind of glows green and all that jazz. In the distance, unfortunately, it's not accurate. You can see it's kind of to the bottom left. But if I was to aim at an AI or something close, let's say like this rock, it hits right on. So for testing purposes, for all intents and purposes, for at this moment, I found it to be accurate enough. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and grab this ammo. You can see in the bottom right, our ammo count went up. Unfortunately, the health doesn't work as intended as it stands now. Uh, you can go above your maximum health, which is supposed to be 200. I'm going to try and avoid grabbing them until I need them. But if you see my health glitch out and go above 200, that's what happened. Is I accidentally grabbed a health pack and it brought me over what is supposed to be the actual limit of my health. So before we go in, let's grab some more ammo. And you can see here visually indicated the green barrier. It means that you can pass through. And essentially the point of the game is to avoid the AI either by killing them or stealthing through and trying to see if you can beat your high score, others' high score, or just killing some time. It's procedurally generated. I have garbage collecting. This map could essentially go on forever. And let's get our first point. So we pass through. You can see in the upper right, it says our levels have passed. And now we have encountered the AI. So they use a AI awareness system that's actually included in Unreal. Unfortunately, I didn't have a ton of time to completely implement the awareness logic to a point where it was realistic and oh no, I'm gonna die, man. As you can see, I implemented ragdoll physics. I really need to get this health. Boom, 110. I didn't have time to completely flesh out the AI as I wanted to. Unfortunately, time didn't really permit it. So right now, all they're really going off of is a very small radius of my gun sound shooting, in addition to um, a very short sight line. So we're just gonna kind of cheese this and hug the wall and hope that all goes well. As it stands right now, the AI is actually procedurally pathfinding as well. Haha, locked out. Let's grab some health. We're getting pretty freaking low. There's a lot of ammo on this part of the map, so I'm gonna take a break here, grab some more ammo. Um, so the AI is pathfinding using a system called EQS. It's actually still considered experimental by Unreal, but essentially what it does is it maps out the entire navigation mesh and evaluates um, of all the points given, what would be the best spot to go to? And it's based off a series of parameters that you set yourself. And basically, what I have them do is just find a spot that they can visually see, evaluate have they gone there before, and if they have, rank it based upon if they should go there or not, essentially. So yeah, this is at its core my game. We have the AI walking around trying to catch you. We have these pickups that I made to help you get through, and all we're trying to do is beat our high scores. So let's see how far we can get here. I'm just gonna start steamrolling through. Gonna doing okay so far. This is actually the farthest I've gotten um, without using cheats, I guess you could say, the developer settings for the AI. Keep grabbing that ammo. Die you. We are killing it. Um, Obviously, there's a million things that you could add to this game. I mean, what I wanted to do was change the gun mesh in the bottom right. This is actually a stock gun mesh that is included with Unreal, as well as the AI, these mannequins. I colored them uh, how I saw fit, but unfortunately, they are just the stock generic included mannequin with Unreal. And obviously in the future I would like to try and get some really creative meshes in here, change the gun, get some alt fire going on, be able to like shoot grenades. As it stands right now, you can't reload. There is no reloading animation. There is no reload functionality. Um, and there's so many other things I want to implement. I want to eventually change this essentially to a RPG where it's not a procedurally generated world in this sense, but it's more of an open world where you can go through and kill people and loot stuff and change your gun, upgrade your gun, all that jazz. But we can go ahead. I'll just let myself die here. You can see the game over screen. So this is what happens when you die. Game over. It shows you your score. You can click retry. It brings us back to this main menu. Click play, and if you look in the upper right, the level high score has now been updated with our new goal to beat, and everything has changed. There's still the pickups, of course, but everything, as I said, is procedurally generated, so every time you play through, things will be different. Um, I use ray casting to ensure that there's no collision on the generated props. And other than that, the way I designed this is so that it could easily be added to an existing game mode in addition to being fully fleshed out into a more feature rich uh, game mode as well. So, as I said, in the future, I want to implement reloading, the animations for that, all that, grenade launching, different enemies, different props, different meshes. There's so much you can do with the Unreal Engine. It's amazing. Um, but this is what I was able to get done in the allotted time. So try to try to beat the high score. You know, in the future, maybe get some leaderboards going, stuff like that. And side note, I didn't mention this, but once you pass through, you're locked out as well. You can't go back through it. You have to continue going through as you unlock the levels and all that jazz. And yeah, that's my project. So I appreciate you taking the time to look, and I hope you have a great day.